Alright, we're going to be doing upper ball joints on a 2002 Chevy Trailblazer today. Take your brakes apart. Makes it easier. I got a separate video on that. Should be right next to it. Now to do the upper ball joints, we're not going to take the whole steering knuckle off. Lower ball joints have already been done in the past by somebody with lifetime warranty moves, so I like that. Brakes are apart. We're going to start off with a 15 millimeter up here. Wrench and socket. We'll see if she'll start spinning in there. That's no good. There we go. We got new hardware, so not worried about hammering that. All right, what do we need now? Now we gotta get that guy out of there. I'm gonna take a flathead right in between where it's pinched together and open it up a little. Hammer upwards, and it'll come right out. Usually, you might have to turn the steering wheel a little or something. Now our steering knuckle swings. Where's the old 10 mil at? There it is. We got this brake hose bracket on the back of the steering knuckle that's coming off. Normally you'd be doing an upper and a lower, but the lower's already been done. It's a little easier to press this ball joint in and out with the steering knuckle off. But we're going to save a lot of time without taking it off. Come on, buddy. There we go. Now we want to turn the wheel the other way. That's going to extend that tie rod and give us room to pull this knuckle forward. There is a C-clip rusted like crazy here we got to take off. I got my wire wheel handy. Now I can actually see that C-clip. Coming off on the one side, the other side's rusted on. I got it lifted, so I'm going to work it around with the flat head. Take this boot off. Where's our press? All right, so this ball joint has to press downwards, but we can't press it like this. That would be nice because it's at an angle. It hits the steering knuckle. So we have to have this side of the press upwards, and we got to press down. I don't have any adapters that will fit over this. I do have adapters, but it would make it too long to sit in the C-clamp. So I'm simply gonna cut this stud right off. It's the fastest, easiest way to do this one. Most steering knuckles, you're not gonna have a problem at all. This has a funny shape to it. Bust out your angle grinder, cut off blades, sawzall, torches. And we're just gonna cut this guy right off. You're wearing eye protection. I usually put my grinding mask on, but those ball joints usually zip right off. You can pre-soak in some PB Blaster and hope that some of it seeks down into that press crack. Good luck with that though. Now we're ready to press. I'm going to take this press plate. I'm just going to pop it right on there like that. We need something that fits over the bottom of the ball joint, so I'm going to use this one. It's wide enough. Fits into the bottom of the press, just like that. Turn this press in a bit. You know what? If you have a helper, it makes it a lot easier to keep this thing facing outwards. Or zip off that axle nut. Today my helper is going to be a jumbo bungee cord. Don't snap back at me. There we go. Well, I guess that bungee cord's in my way. All right, bungee. You need to go down lower, buddy. There we go. Thank you. Just gonna set it in place with my hands. The trick to pressing in and out is make sure you're super straight. You want to press it straight out, straight in. Suck it. I should have done this beforehand. Still got a little on it, but you want a little bit of grease on the threads of your press. There's a lot of pressure, heat builds up. So you want some lubrication in there. If you want her to last a long time. Happened with my gun. Looks like I turned the knob. Woo! Alright, that ball joint just pressed out of there. Still in there a little bit. It pressed out. I don't think you can see. Pressed out like a quarter of an inch. Usually a couple love taps and it just pops out. This one's being stubborn. Definitely being stubborn. Let's set the press back up again. I flip my cone around to get more downward on it. I want to straighten it out a little. That ought to do. Keep hitting this knob, come on. Sorry guys, there's something real funny going on with my gun. Let me get my gun situated. I'll be right back. Alright, I got my gun figured out. Loose screw. Should work now. There we go. We got that ball joint to press out almost all the way. Couple little taps. There she is. Give her just a little cleaning. Cleaned her up where that ball joint's gonna sit flush in the top of the knuckle. Make sure there's no hang-ups. There's a note on these ball joints that says mount inboard. Always pay attention to that when doing ball joints. We're gonna pop that ball joint in there as firm as we can. Just want to stay in there so I don't have to hold it while I'm setting on my cones. Alright, so we got to go downwards. So I got this cone where we press down. It fits over the ball joint, the new ball joint, so I can press all the way up in there. Now we're going to have something for the bottom. This cone's not going to press it straight because it hits right there. Let's see what we got. We got this guy. That guy might work. This cone fits on the bottom of the C-clamp and fits around the ball joint. We're going to make sure this top cone is centered because it doesn't leave a lot of room for air for that ball joint to creep through. Try to keep everything centered. And that ball joint pressed in beautifully. Nice and easy. Run your thumbnail around the inside of where it flushes out, where it mates with the steering knuckle. Make sure you can't get your thumbnail in there. Now we got a problem. Already did the other side, and I had a new snap ring. This side didn't come with a new snap ring. We got the ball joint bolt, grease fitting, the nut, and the old snap ring broke when I took it out. You gotta call the parts store and say, hey, it didn't come with a snap ring, get one from them. Luckily, I got a drawer full of them. There we go. Oh, it's seated in its groove. Had a little final pop there. We got our grease fitting to put in. You want to pay attention to where the grease fitting stops so that's in an easy greasable position. Got a 10 millimeter on this one. You want to make sure it's in there tight, but don't tighten them down too hard. Grease won't flow into them very easily. That's nice and tight. Bada boom. Now we can get rid of our bungee. Don't need that helper no more. It's a little rusty inside that control arm. Hopefully she pops in there all right. I'll give her a little lubrication. So this ball joint moves forward just a little bit to line up with that control arm. Let's see, we gotta move her a little this way, a little that way. That's pretty close. I'm going to turn the wheel. And straighten it out. Looks like that ball joint fit in there smoothly. I'm going to move it forward a little more. Go. Break through that rust a little bit. You could have cleaned it out. Now this pin sits through a groove. You can kind of see it before you put the bolt in. Make sure you're in the groove. I will tighten her down. Don't do what I just did. Tighten it too much, it's a squish bolt. Good thing I got tons of hardware here. It's a squish nut on these, so they get really tight. when you're trying to torque them down. I got lots of extra nuts and bolts here. What you want to do is get it to clamp back down tight, but don't over tighten it. If you got a good impact like me, you'll snap that bolt off. There we go. That's nice and tight. Now that we got that ball joint in place, we can grease her up. There we go. Ball joint's installed, upper ball joint, without taking the steering knuckle off. All we got to do is bolt our brake line back on. Put the brakes back together. I got a separate video on brakes for this, if you need to check it out for brakes. That'll do her.